the large data set. This spreadsheet provided by the exam board is what we refer to as the large data set. So click at the tabs and you'll see you have data for various locations around the world, weather-related data. These are some of the things you should be able to do with the data, and you are recommended to explore the data before your exam. Your exam questions will assume that you have knowledge and understanding of the data set, and you will be at an advantage if you have studied the data set and are familiar with everything first. My aim in this video is to go through all of these different weather-related variables in far more detail than required, so it may seem like a geography lesson. Data is taken from 5 locations in the UK and 3 which are overseas. So these are the UK locations, and you should know the names of all of these places and the various locations on the map. And we have 3 locations around the world: Jacksonville in the United States, Beijing in China, and Perth in Australia. 2 of these are in the Northern Hemisphere and 1 is in the Southern Hemisphere. You will notice here that when we have winter in the Northern Hemisphere, we have summer in the Southern Hemisphere, because the Northern Hemisphere here is tilted away from the Sun and the Southern Hemisphere is tilted towards the Sun, hence the differences in the seasons. And you have the opposite at this end, where you have summer in the north and you have winter in the south, because the north now is tilted towards the Sun. So that could be used to explain data belonging to Beijing, which is in the Northern Hemisphere, compared to Perth, which is in the Southern Hemisphere. Data is collected for 6 months in each of these years, and that should enable some comparisons to be made. Daily mean temperature. Nothing much to say on this. The data here is continuous and it's quantitative. So you could group the data into a frequency table, and working with class boundaries and midpoints, you could work out various estimates. So for example, an estimate for median or standard deviation. You could represent the data in a histogram. Perhaps you'll take a random sample of this data, or you could work with all of the given data, which would be a census. You haven't collected the data yourself, so it's secondary data, and simple comparisons can be made between the Northern and Southern Hemisphere for seasons and temperature. Okay, moving on to daily total rainfall, and you'll see that in the data some of the values are TR, or trace, and that just means that an amount less than 0.05 millimeters was recorded. And if you're doing calculations, you replace a TR entry in the table with 0.